Welcome back to the System Read. Sarah, I've been waiting all week to dive into this one because I truly believe it's the ultimate firmware upgrade for the human brain. We're talking about Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez's Your Money or Your Life. This isn't a finance book, it's a manual for reclaiming your soul from the machinery of modern capitalism.
Reclaiming your soul, Marcus? Or just a set of instructions on how to count pennies while the world burns? I'll admit, the revised edition tries to bridge the gap, but I'm skeptical. It feels like a philosophy built for a middle class that doesn't exist anymore. A world of stagnant wages and skyrocketing housing costs, where choosing to spend less feels like a cruel joke for the YOYO class, the you're on your own generation.
That's exactly why the core thesis is more relevant now than in 1992. The book starts with a question that's like a gun to the ribs. Your money or your life? If a thief asked you that, you'd hand over the wallet. But in the 9-to-5 grind, we do the opposite. We hand over our lives for the money. Marcus, the systems thinker, sees the glitch. We've forgotten that money is fundamentally just something we trade our life energy for.
Life energy. It sounds poetic, Marcus, but for a single mom in 2024, life energy isn't a treasure she's choosing to spend. It's a commodity being extracted just to keep the lights on. The book suggests we calculate our real hourly wage by adding in commuting time, the cost of work costuming, and the daily decompression drinks we need just to stop vibrating from stress. When you do that math, a $25 an hour job might actually pay $10. My problem is, what if that $10 is still the only thing between you and the street?
But that's the point. If you realize you're only making $10 an hour, you stop buying $20 Gazingas pins, those things you buy on impulse that bring zero fulfillment. You start seeing that every dollar is 6 minutes of your remaining time on this earth. We only have about 650,000 hours in a lifetime, Sarah. Half of that is gone just maintaining the body. Why would we throw the rest into the stations of the crass at the mall?
Stations of the crass. I'll give you that one. But let's talk about that fulfillment curve they keep mentioning. The book argues that there's a peak called enough. Beyond that, more stuff actually decreases fulfillment because of the clutter, the maintenance, and the worry. Marcus, we live in a social media spending spiral. You can't just opt out of the Joneses anymore because the Joneses are now global influencers with filters. The pressure to consume isn't just a pattern of belief. It's an atmospheric pressure.
And that's the trap. We project our fantasies onto money. We try to solve psychological or spiritual needs with physical consumption. We're bored, so we buy a mobile app. We're lonely, so we buy a round of drinks. It's a conveyor belt of personal desire. Robin and Dominguez are trying to give us an internal yardstick. If you don't have your own definition of enough, the horizon of more just keeps receding as you walk toward it.
Oh, I have a definition of enough. It's called rent that doesn't consume 40% of my income. The book mentions a woman who cut her expenses by moving to a cheaper house. But in today's market, where? They talk about job charming, the idea that the perfect career will fulfill all our needs. I agree that we've made jobs our new religion. But the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, that this book birthed, it feels like it's for ninjas and super savers who can hack the system. What about the person zigzagging through a dozen gig economy jobs just to survive?
I hear you, Sarah. The starting line isn't the same for everyone. Privilege and race and gender create real gradients. But look at the stories in the revised edition. There's Brandon, who skipped college debt to work as a farmhand and is saving for trade school. There's Nicole, a nurse practitioner $100,000 in debt, realizing she was living her father's script. The system is rigged, but this program is about becoming bulletproof. When Larry, that HR guy, realized he had a visible time horizon for his crossover point, the moment his investment income would exceed his expenses, he stopped being a victim of office politics. He became bulletproof because he didn't need the job anymore.
Bulletproof. That's a heavy word. It implies we're at war. And maybe we are. We're in a burnout culture where karoshi, death by overwork, isn't just a Japanese term anymore. It's a vibe. But Marcus, the crossover point depends on the magic of compound interest. In a world of 2% interest rates and high inflation, the golden age of high interest rates Joe lived in is gone. Relying on a 4% safe withdrawal rate feels like a gamble when the YOYO class doesn't have pensions or secure Social Security.
Which is why the new edition emphasizes diversification and index funds. It's not about beating the market, it's about enough. If you need $3,000 a month to live a life you love, you need $900,000 in assets. That sounds like a mountain, but when you stop trying to impress people you don't like with money you don't have, that mountain gets a lot shorter. You start valuing natural wealth, your abilities, your belonging, your community.
You're talking about financial interdependence now, the caring economy. It's lovely, Marcus, truly. But I see people using retail therapy as a legitimate antidepressant because they have no time for community. They're making a dying all week, and the only thing that makes them feel human on Saturday is a trip to the mall. It's a loop. You work more to buy escape entertainment to forget you're working.
But that escape is a prison of your own making. The book asks, if you had $1 million right now, what would you do with your time? Most people can't answer that because their identity is fused to their job title. We suffer from jobism, a hidden hierarchy where we size each other up by our paychecks. Breaking the link between work and wages is the most radical thing you can do. Work is any productive activity. A job is just what you do for money.
If you break that link, who am I? If I'm not a critical analyst, am I just a person who consumes oxygen and occasionally gardens? That's the psychological terror the book skims over. We've been trained since kindergarten to be consumers, not citizens. To consume means to waste, to destroy, to squander. We're destroying the planet to fill an emotional void.
Exactly. The Pogonomics principle, we have met the enemy and he is us. Every dollar we spend is a lien on the Earth's resources. But when you find enough, you stop the destruction. You realize that happiness research shows that beyond a certain level of sufficiency, around $75,000, more money doesn't buy more joy. In their seminars, people at every income level said they needed 50% more to be happy. It's a psychological cul-de-sac.
So, is this a path to liberation? Or just a really organized way to handle a diminished future? The book talks about transformation versus change. Change is finding new ways to solve old problems. Transformation is asking different questions. I'll admit, the questions are haunting. Did I receive fulfillment in proportion to the life energy spent? That's a brutal metric for a $15 cocktail or a $1,000 smartphone.
It's a freeing metric. It's the red pill. Once you see the matrix of consumerism, you can't unsee it. You start aprovecharing, that Spanish word for getting full value from every moment. You become a life designer. Whether you're a turtle moving slowly out of debt or a hare sprinting toward age 30 retirement, you're in the driver's seat.
I still worry about the crossover point jitters. What happens when you actually get the freedom? We're so addicted to the grind that without the clock, some people just fall apart. They're terrified of the silence.
The silence is thundering at first. But then you start hearing your own dreams again. You remember what you wanted to be before the world told you to grow up. You start working for love instead of money. You become an architect of the future.
Marcus, you make it sound like a secular religion. And maybe that's why it's a classic. It provides a map and a compass in a world that's lost both. I still think it underestimates the sheer weight of modern inequality. But I can't argue with the math of life energy. Even if the system is broken, my hours are still mine. Until they aren't.
That's it. That's the system read. It's about no shame, no blame. We're all caught in this money trap, Sarah. But the exit isn't out there in the economy, it's in here, in how we value ourselves.
No shame, no blame. I could use a little more of that when I look at my bank statement. Maybe I'll start that monthly tabulation tonight. But Marcus, if I find out I'm spending 2 hours of my life every week on streaming services I don't watch, I'm blaming you for the existential crisis.
I'll take that deal. Because on the other side of that crisis is a life that's integrated and whole. And Sarah, that's the only investment that never loses value.
Let's see if I can find my internal yardstick under all these shoes first.
One step at a time. The transformation begins now.
Your money or your life? I think I'll take both, thank you.
That's the spirit!
Seriously though, Marcus, if I have to give up my artisan coffee, we're going to have words.
Just ask the question, Sarah. Is it worth the life energy? If the answer is yes, drink up.
It's always yes. See you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to this discussion on the System Read podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to ensure you don't miss our upcoming deep dives.